I am here with Matt from Meet Your Maker. Hello, Matt.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm not too bad. So Meet Your Maker, we need to do this quickly because we've already had you on because you had a new single. So you were on with Stephen D on our rock show.
Yeah, so it was Dylan, our guitarist, who did that interview. But yeah, he was having a good time, I heard. So yeah,
Yeah, no, it was cool because we like metal. It's that simple. I have to be
great.
honest. I run the station, but my favourite show is the rock show because we have an hour of really good rock from 60s through to modern day. And then at 9 o'clock, if I don't hear screaming and shouting, I do make a complaint at where is the proper heavy metal because if it's too gentle, like seriously, come on, let's crank it
Great.
up a bit.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I hear you.
So I do like that one. Right, let's go a little bit into what you're doing then. Just give us an overview of what Meet Your Maker's all about.
Oh golly, I mean, where do we start? So yeah, so Meet Your Maker really was formed out of a community that I run called Revolution Reality Midlands, which is basically a heavy metal church. We put on regular events. We haven't done a whole lot over the last year or so, just because I've been so invested in Meet Your Maker. But essentially, we had a community or have a community of people who are people of faith, people who are either on a walk and a journey with God or looking into what that might mean for them. And yeah, essentially, we found that there was people who were wanting more music, and we thought, let's have a bash at it ourselves instead of playing covers of other bands and other worship songs. Let's write our own, and that's kind of where we started, really. So yeah.
I remember I've been involved in worship in churches for about 30, 40 years, whatever it is. But I remember saying to some people one night, and they were doing this, they were excellent musicians. I don't know what even the worship song was. And it was really high quality. But I said to them, it's really boring because all you're doing is mimicking exactly what the person who wrote this song does. But that's them being them.
Yeah,
How can you be you and
yeah,
take ownership of this song? And I think it was like a light bulb moment of, well, we haven't got to do it exactly the same. Please don't,
yeah.
because it is dull. Because yeah, great, you can mimic it, but how about you
Yeah.
use the gifts that you've got and add to what they've already got in the song? And it was great after that. They went off. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I definitely think there's room for people to kind of take something and do their own spin on it, and
Hmm.
I think okay, I've heard a lot of Christian rock or metal bands try to cover like kind of regular worship songs, and it doesn't always pull off. It doesn't always land the way that you kind of might hope it would. And so we were like, well, instead of us trying to maybe shoehorn something and make something work, let's just do our own original stuff. And so we put out a single. Our first one was back in 2020, just as lockdown was kind of coming into effect right at the end of 2020, and we put that single out, and we just put it out purely for our own community. It wasn't really meant to kind of be any bigger than our own just group of friends and stuff, and it ended up getting a little bit of attention. So we thought, right, let's write some more stuff, and we put out a few more singles since then. And it's just kind of snowballed, and we've got an album coming out in possibly June. Can't give too much away at the moment, but we're looking like June is when the album will be coming out. So yeah, it's felt very organic, and it's felt very blessed. It's definitely come together um because of God making it happen. The people that are in the band, the way that our, I don't like saying fan base because it sounds really egotistical, but our fan base, the way that that's just kind of happened, I couldn't have done this in my own strength and trying to make it happen. People have connected with it, the lyrics have resonated with them, and God's just opened up the right doors and the right connections. So it definitely feels like it's kind of like a God ordained thing. Um, and we'll keep doing it as long as his hand is on it. And the moment that it's not, then we'll stop.
Good man. I remember hearing Striper a long time ago, clearly very old in a sense, band. I loved them in the 80s
Great
and
band.
90s.
Great band.
Fantastic. And still cranking out some awesome stuff. But I remember them
Yeah.
talking about how, or seeing some of their fans saying, do you know what, we're not Christians, but we love Striper. And I think
Mm,
there is a thing about metal and heavy metal whereby Christian bands are probably more accepted in that genre than in other, like just rock or pop or whatever it is, indie. I think there's something about heavy metal that I don't know, is it the fans are more willing to accept faith, I think, than other genres?
possibly. Possibly. I mean, I look at bands like you mentioned Striper, that might have been maybe something from your era of my when I was just getting into finding and discovering Christian metal and Christian hardcore. The bands that I kind of grew up on were like bands like For Today and Sleeping Giant. I don't know if they ring a bell for you or anyone listening, but they were very, very outspoken and very open about their faith. Um, and for no reason other than I'm not sure, maybe the different types of genre that they were in. Sleeping Giant were more hardcore, whereas For Today were more metalcore. The hardcore community accepted Sleeping Giant and loved Sleeping Giant in spite of the fact that they were very Christian, very much like baptizing people on stage
Mm.
and stuff. And the hardcore community just loved them because they were great people. For Today, the Christian fan base fell in love with them, as did I, because they were just a phenomenal band. And there were a lot of bands who did like For Today that were from the metalcore scene. And it's not that the guys weren't good guys; they were good guys. But they also came. They also came under fire and had a bit of backlash. So I think it really is hit and miss. I think it. I think the subgenres can be very. The metalcore subgenre, I feel, can be a little bit elitist at times and a little bit gatekeepery.
Mm.
Is that even a
Yeah,
word,
yeah.
gatekeeping?
It'll work for
So
now.
yeah, so I think it really does depend. I mean, we've played gigs with other bands who have no faith, and they've been very accepting of us and have been very friendly. And we always say at our gigs, so I'll always say on stage, like one of the main reasons we play shows is to make friends. So can we be friends? And we always try our best to connect with people, and you know, we go about things strategically because if you go in guns blazing, I've seen other artists that are just they don't really care. They just want to kind of shove things down people's throats. And Scripture says that we are to be as wise as serpents and as
Mm.
gentle as doves, and that's a mantra that I live by. That Scripture, and you can't. You've got to know the people that you're talking to and form relationships with them, and that's really important. So yeah, for us, we've had a great experience with every band that we've played with. We've never had any hate or any backlash, and we kind of want to keep it that way because at the end of the day, like whether somebody decides to become a Christian in one of our gigs or not, we want to love on them and we want to we want to be in relationship with people. So yeah.
I would put it slightly differently. That's my way of working it, but I would say we need to win the right to talk to people. I think
Oh, I love that.
it's
Oh,
yeah,
that's good.
it's easy to like talk about God to people. I mean, here at Pure, we're not overtly Christian in what we do because it's not. Yeah, it's my passion and heart is people to know Jesus because I think it's the best thing in the world. But at the end of the day, it's why we don't play Christian or non-Christian music. We just play music because we
Yeah,
love music.
yeah,
As long as it's pure, it's bad language free, it's got nothing immoral or illegal. That's how we choose to change. And I
great.
think winning the right to speak to somebody means you actually need to spend time with them to build that relationship, to have a friendship in order for you to be able to win that right. Otherwise, you're just a noise that they can
Yeah.
easily disregard.
I love that. I love that. I've not heard that before. Win the right. I like it.
There
I
you are.
like it. I've learned something new tonight.
Stick
It's
it in a
great.
song.
That's
Um,
great. Yeah.
I see the wolves at the gate on your hoodie. She's cool. Like wolves at the gate.
Yeah.
Clock that
Yeah.
on.
Great band, great band. I had an absolute honor and privilege and blessing to be able to go. I was invited by my friends in Holy Name. I don't know if you've heard of that band. Sleeping Giant, I mentioned earlier, the vocalist started a new band called Holy Name. They played a festival in Germany called Loud and Proud, and they invited me to jump on stage and do a little guest spot for them, which was incredible. It was a massive festival, and Wolves at the Gate, I think they were headlining. So I picked up one of these pieces of merch. But yeah, they're a phenomenal band, amazing talent. Both the vocalists are incredible. So yeah, good band. Yeah, big fan of them.
Cool. Well, I want to come back to music and stuff because it's a big part of what you do and it's a big part of what we are as well. But
Yeah.
let's go back a bit in time because you're talking about faith, Christianity. Just give us a bit of an overview. Where did faith become more than something you knew of and it was somebody that you knew?
That's a really pertinent question. So I grew up in a Christian household. So my family are Catholic. My mum and dad, brother are still Catholic. When I was a teenager, well, before that, growing up in the Catholic Church, there wasn't really ever no one ever like explicitly said this is about a relationship with God. Um, and that's through nobody's fault. It was just not language or terminology that was used back then. Um, I was a 90s kid, born in 89, grew up in the 90s, and that's, um, I never really knew anything about Pentecostalism or Protestant. Do you know what I mean? I was a Catholic kid, and there's a lot of liturgy and all that. And I never went to like a church that had a good youth group. So when I was a teenager, I was just like, I'm not going to church anymore. I still believe. I'm still a Catholic. I still believe, but I just had more important things to do, like hanging out with friends and stuff, right? So it wasn't until I was like 18, 19 that a guy that I was in a band with, he became a Christian. His girlfriend, her dad was a pastor of a church, and so he got into the church, and it was a Pentecostal church. And then he invited me along, and I was like, well, this is kind of cool. It feels, I feel like I'm going to be comfortable. But like the first time that someone laid their hand on my shoulder to pray for me, I was like, what is this? Praying in tongues. I was like, this is a whole new thing. I was like, am I in America or something? What's going on? Anyway, so yeah, so that was it really. And then from there, I just kind of got back into my faith. I was not a perfect Christian. I made a lot of mistakes, had some ups and downs, but I actually joined a very non-Christian band in about 2010. And I ended up touring India and doing some really cool stuff with that band. And then for one reason or another, they kicked me out of the band. And I was devastated because I thought it was my meal ticket. I thought it was, going to work out, like getting to tour India. Not many bands get to do something cool like that. So I thought there was a lot of potential. So I was devastated. And I remember where I was. I was on my bathroom floor. And I just said to God, I don't know why I was on my bathroom floor, but I was just in a moment of like, God, if I'm going to do music again, I don't want it to be anything other than for you. I don't want to do music again unless it's going to be for you. And I had to wait 10, 15 years for Meet Your Maker to kind of become a thing. And I'd had the idea for Meet Your Maker roughly kind of just after then, actually. I was like, if I was to be in a band, it would be called this. And it's come to fruition, and I've had to be so patient about it and just trust that God will make it happen if it's going to happen. So that's kind of roughly my story, I suppose.
How did you find India? I just a slightly random question. I've got a mate who went out there, and he said, because my question was, what's India like? I've never been there. I have my imagination. And he said a few things. It's really loud, it's really colourful, and it's really hot. That was his three descriptions.
Oh, he's nailed it, bro.
Yeah.
He's nailed it. It's a Wild West. It's the Wild West. It's so much fun, but it's the Wild West. The first time I went out when I was with the band, I got gastroenteritis, and I literally thought I was going to die. I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm not coming home.
Yeah.
And then I went out again for a little mission trip with an amazing organization called the Message Trust. Went out there with them, and that was incredible. And I'd go back in a heartbeat. And I've said to the guys in the band, if we get an opportunity to tour India or play a couple of gigs in India, we're going. It's amazing. It's not when you could go to the south I think it's the south where Goa is. Goa's a beautiful region with beaches. You can relax in Goa. You can't really relax anywhere else. It's a bit like New York, I suppose, if you've ever been to, or a big city. It's just nuts. But it's great. I love the people. The people are amazing.
Slightly random for you. My granddad was born in India. He moved over for the Second World War, so he would buy the hottest curry you could find at the supermarket. Yes. This is my childhood memory. He'd buy the hottest curry. He would then buy extra chili powder to put on top, and he'd be sat there, bald, completely bald in his 80s. He had sweat pouring down his face, bright red face, massive grin on his face. Very happy, he said, as he was eating the stuff. I couldn't even smell it. My eyes were watering. He was made up.
Do you know what? I've got a love for hot food too, and maybe it's because of India as well. I was just on holiday with my family for the weekend, and all weekend I ate nothing but hot food, and they were like, "Are you okay? Have you got a problem?" But yeah, I get it. Some people don't, but I get it.
No, his was it 80th birthday? My nana died. I want to go to a Balti house. Okay, this pasty white guy. He'd been born and raised in India, came across the Second World War. He'd fought in Burma in the Second World War.
Wow.
And there's a bit of a character. I want to go to a Balti house after my nana died. So we took him out to one in Wolverhampton where I was living. And my lasting memory was this. We were sat at the table waiting to be served. The guys came over. very much clearly, obviously not English, and they were nattering away in their own language. And he started talking in apparently this really rare dialect. He just
Wow.
started speaking to them. We got very good service last night because because I think they said we've never met anybody in England who speaks our language. The whole restaurant spoke the same dialect from the same part. Nobody knows that dialect. And it was just this fantastic conversation of this
Wow.
pasty old 80-year-old white guy chatting in their native tongue from this rare bit of a dialect. It was phenomenal.
What a legend. It just goes to show, like, if you can, I mean, I don't know, I assume he knew it from birth, maybe, but if you can, if you're going somewhere and you can speak their language, it pays. We're off to Sweden next week for a festival, and I don't know a word of Swedish. So I'm like, on the flight, I'm going to be like learning, how are you? Where is this? And stuff. Because, yeah, it makes you put in the effort. People can see that you care.
We went to the Costa del Sol, which is about as British as you can possibly get outside the UK, 2001 or something, 2002. And I remember walking along the beach, and you got the Daily Mail, you got the Sun, they're all the normal British paper title. It's there. Everybody speaking English around you because everybody's British,
Mm.
all the expats. And I went to this stand and I tried to speak Spanish to say thank you, and it was rubbish. I don't speak Spanish. I'm not even going to try and do it now. But the joy on the woman as she tried to help me to speak the word thank you genuinely in Spanish was brilliant. We even went out away from the thing because my wife and I are like we want to meet some Spanish people because everybody's English. The people in the hotel working, they're English. The
Yeah.
people at the pubs and the bars, they're English. Can we go meet some Spaniards in Spain? Rented a car and went off into the mountains, and it was brilliant fun. And we couldn't speak the language, and it was great because we actually were able to immerse for a time in the language.
Yeah, it's really important. Like, if you want to connect with people, you can't just expect them to just speak your language all the time. It's a bit of it's a Western thing, isn't it? To just expect people to be able to just make your life easier. Yeah.
And there was a stereotype Englishman shouting in English because that's going to help everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe
The
it was a
louder I speak, the more you'll understand. Hmm.
frustrated heavy metal singer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's interesting to know about language. We're talking about language and Spanish or whatever, but if you're going to go to a concert, you kind of need to get into it because you can either stand at the back and think, yeah, it's not my music. I'm just going to sit it down. I'm not interested. Or you get into it. What do you find from people that turn up to your gigs? I mean, have you had that moment where it's like your family and friends are coming and you're like, this may not be what you expect? Do they like, oh, this is cool?
I've tried to invite my colleagues from work to come, and they haven't yet, and it's fine. It's okay. I've got a little there's a little group of us at my work. I'm a graphic designer, and I work for a studio in Birmingham. There's a group of us who are into rock and metal and stuff, but Meteor Maker's probably a little heavier than most of them like. So no, most people who come to our gigs are there for the genre, and they're accustomed to it. We definitely though have had when we would put on the heavy metal church services with Revolution Reality Midlands in Birmingham. We did this one event, and it was in St Martin's Church in the Bullring. It's the big church, you can't miss it really. It's at the bottom of the Bullring. It's where we actually shot the music video for our latest single, Cowards. We put on a heavy metal church service there. It was literally a church service, but with the worship being heavy metal. And it was free for people to come in. People literally would walk in off the street. I think it was around about Halloween a couple of years ago. So it was prime time for heavy metal to be coming out of a church. We had 100 people coming off the streets, and a lot of people hadn't been to a metal gig before, but they were vibing with it. We had a few people that I thought might have been into that kind of music, and they were like headbanging along, and they were listening. I can't remember I think we had words on the screens for the songs as well, but these were like hardcore worship songs, and in between the songs, I would be preaching or whatever. I'd be giving some sort of gospel orientated message. People were vibing with it. No one, they were in a church. Like, you're not going to come into a church and hear heavy metal and then boo what the guy says, right? So you're expecting it to be Christian. But then we also apparently had people coming in and complaining about it and having a bit of a problem with heavy metal being played in church. And this is something that I've come up against as leading the ministry a lot. And not to hijack this interview, which is about Meteor Maker, but the ministry that I run, Rev, is kind of, it goes hand in hand. They're so intrinsically linked. Like, the band was birthed out of it, but it's something that I've come across. People saying that you can't use heavy metal for worship. I've had conversations with street preachers where I live, and people there's this one guy who refused to even let me pray for him after we'd had the conversation because he was just so against it. He wouldn't even let me pray for him. He wanted nothing to do with me, and it was really all of his kind of arguments for it were just based on his opinion and inability to be open-minded to something, or his inability. He just couldn't get past the fact that this music could be biblical. He couldn't get past the fact that, his argument was, will there be heavy metal worship in heaven? And I was like, mate, there's not going to be probably any earthly style of music that we've come across when we worship in heaven. Like, we've invented classical, we've invented folk and pop and R&B and rap. These are man-made genres, right? So there might not be heavy metal, but there ain't going to be jazz probably either. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, all that to say, some people are receptive, some people aren't. And yeah, if you're open-minded, you might just enjoy it. I don't know.
One of the best sermons, I remember this vividly, was a Baptist church years ago, probably 35, 40 years ago. And it was there's one of the elders of the church. So he's like, I don't know, 70 or 75. And he played three styles of music. And he said, it's interesting as I played those three little 15-second clips, or whatever it was, that some people were happy at some and very agitated by others.
Yeah.
And the point he made was this: when you're listening to a piece of music, you may not like that piece of music, but you know what? Somebody else will. And here's the thing: you need to get past what it sounds like, because you kind of need to know, if you're looking at it from a theological point of view, you need to look at the person who's written the music, if you're going to go down that road. And he went really, he wasn't mocking anybody, he wasn't ridiculing anybody, he was just saying, look, you need to be not open-minded. That wasn't his point, but he was saying you can't just say that's bad because you don't like it or you don't understand it, therefore it's evil. He said you can't do that. And I just remember sitting there thinking, this is like revolutionary conversation from this whole 75-year-old bloke saying, do you know what? Just because you like Vivaldi classical music doesn't make it godly and Christian.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. And I thought it was profound to hear his perspective. I don't like some of this stuff. There was some rock music, I think, whatever it was. I don't like that. But it doesn't make it evil just because I don't like it or I don't understand it. And it was quite breathtaking to hear him say that stuff. He was talking about it in the context of church. We can't just have a hymn sandwich every time. You were going to have some more rocky stuff or whatever, but that's okay. He was talking theologically from words and stuff, but Vivaldi being classical music doesn't make it good because it's classical. That doesn't make it pure, righteous, theologically sound. And it was really fascinating. You just reminded me of that with some of these with the conversations you've had.
There's some classical music that's dark. There's some real stuff that if you were to listen to it, you'd be like, how is that? How does that reflect the heavenly realm? Some of it's dark. And, that's why a lot of the horror movies, they have classical music playing as intertwined with whatever else, but violin strings and stuff, So you can't say one genre is holy and one genre is not. It's ridiculous.
Meet and Maker, you're going on tour, which is exciting. How do you find being away on tour? I mean, you're talking about you're making friends with different bands, which is brilliant. So there's obviously going to be a community of people who, I guess, the fans and the people in the audience aren't going to see. But how do you cope as a band, maintain that Christian aspect when you're away from home, away from families?
Great question. We haven't done like a proper full-on tour. We've done gig dates where we are away from our families. So we played in Swansea the other month. That was a long drive. We were away. Basically, we left first thing in the morning and got back early hours of the next day. So we do go. Obviously, we're away from our families, just like any other band does. But I think something that's really great in our band is that we hold each other accountable, and we look out for one another. So we did have a woman guitarist in our band. She's not with us anymore, but the dynamic there was interesting. Just from an accountability point of view, so all of us in the band are married, and so obviously if we have, like, for example, if a girl comes up to the merch table and there's no one else around, I'll have a conversation with them. If it starts to become anything more than just a regular conversation, then when Beth was in the band, I'd kind of be like, hey, what's up? And she'd know, and she'd come over and kind of take over the conversation and stuff like that. It's just keeping each other accountable and being very upfront and honest. But in terms of coping, being away from our families, with all of us, except for Dylan, have got kids. There's 4 of us in the band now. Obviously, I mentioned that Beth left. She also has kids. But Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. My lad's 2 now, and he's at a golden age, and he's 2.5, where his character's really coming alive, and I don't want to miss a moment. It's tough. Our bassist Dave has 4 kids, and that's hard to juggle, even financially. Providing for your family as well as financially investing in a band, because that's a lot. Being in a band is so expensive. If you make any money, you're in a fortunate position. So there's that aspect to it as well. But yeah, it's difficult. It is difficult to juggle. I had a conversation with the vocalist of For Today, I mentioned earlier. When they came over to the UK, gosh, nearly 9 years ago now. I asked him, like, how do you make a marriage work being away? Because they were a fully touring band, like a full time. That was his full time job. And he said, if you're on the road, you got to FaceTime or Zoom or WhatsApp call your wife every day. Like, you've got to keep that communication going, and be on your guard spiritually. Like, the enemy will take any opportunity he can to tempt you, to bring out the worst in your character. Like, you're on the road with the guys in the band or girls in the band. It's very easy when you're spending a lot of time together to get narky. You're tired. Being in a band isn't easy. It's testing, and you're not making a whole lot of money. Sometimes you're playing to very few people. So it will test your character. So yeah, you got to keep each other in check. You got to have grace for one another. So much, tons of grace, tons of love, tons of grace.
It's important though. You spend time together. You're going to find all the rough edges are going to come out, aren't they? Because you can mask it for so long, but when you're actually in and out of each other's lives, and and you're stuck in a van for a long time or whatever, you're going to start to find each other's rough edges, and that is the time, like you say, you need to start finding that grace for each other. Because you know what, they're winding you up. You're probably winding them up too.
Yeah, and some people say that they're married to the music. You're married to your band members, like maybe not in a literal sense, but man, like you might spend, if you're in a fully touring band, you'll spend probably as much time, if not more time, with them than you will probably your own family. I can't speak from experience. I haven't been in a full-time touring band myself, but I know that's how it is. It's like when you're at work, you probably spend more time with your colleagues at work than you do with your family. So yeah, it's difficult. You got to have grace.
Grace is good. There's a song for you. What's coming up for you? So you got the album coming up. I mean, you're growing. Have you got gigs increasing? How's that? How are you finding that side of it?
Yeah, it's tough because we're literally putting the final touches to the album, like from a recording point of view. Things are getting mixed and mastered. So we've been busy. We've been busy, busy, busy. It might look like, if you've been a fan of our band for a while, that we haven't put a lot of music out, or we don't post a whole lot on socials. I do all the graphic design stuff for the band. I'm a graphic designer, so that kind of falls on me. And being a family man as well, like, it's hard to find time to do stuff. So you might think that maybe we've gone quiet on socials. We haven't stopped, like, dropped the ball. We are busy. So booking gigs is another thing. Like, we don't have a booking agent. We do everything ourselves, DIY, like a lot of bands. So we have got a gig coming up in May. I think it's the 11th of May at the Dark Horse in Moseley in the Midlands, in the Brum area. So we've got that coming up. That's not been announced, but you can have the exclusive there if you want. 11th of May. And then we will also eventually have, when the album comes out, a launch gig as well. We've got Sweden. Can't believe I missed that. Sweden is next week. We're playing a festival called Light the Dark. The headline, we are direct support to White Cross.
Yep.
Remember White Cross? So we were blown away when we saw them. It's not normally my cup of tea, but I like a bit of hair metal and a bit of 80s metal. So once we finish our set, we're going to kick back and have a party with White Cross. That's going to be cool. There's some other good bands that are playing. Our good close friends, Confessions of a Traitor, who have been amazing to us. They've kind of taken us under their wing, and they've been a massive support for us. They're really championing us, which we're so grateful for. They are on the Saturday night. We're playing the Friday. They're playing the Saturday, so it would be great to hang out with those guys again. So we'll have friends there too. So yeah, we've got a couple of things lined up, but as soon as the album drops in June, we'll be go booking shows and getting stuff done, and trying to play the album, gig it live as much as possible.
I know Stephen D wants to talk to you again with the album when that comes out in the future for his rock show, because hey, that'd be cool.
We'll do it. We'll do it.
No, cool. Thank you. It's fascinating chatting to you because I don't get to chat to a lot of musicians, and I am a musician, although different genre, and I love chatting to you guys, I chatted to Jennifer Benson from Ignescent, which is a US metal band,
Yep.
about a year and a half ago, and she was great. Her and her husband were in the middle of, I think it was the Petra 40th anniversary tour or something, and she was
Wow.
headlining with them or doing one of the big gigs with them. So she was like halfway between somewhere with a husband in the car, and then she stopped to pray for me, which is like with her husband. It's just brilliant. She
Great.
was not what you think. She's absolutely lovely to chat with, and we like her music too. So we want to always kind of champion bands and stuff. It's really important to us when we kind of meet people who are really passionate about what they're doing. Here's a question for you, as before we finish: do you
All right.
see what you're doing? Is it a dream passion for the future to fill your time? Not in a negative sense, but like, is this where you want to go as a career, or is this something you see more as a calling?
Or yeah, it's a calling. 100%. It's something, as I said earlier, like I I could try my hardest in my flesh to make it work, but the way that the band has come together, even the band members, I was searching for a guitarist for so long, and Dylan just kind of I say Dylan fell in my lap, but he kind of did. Like I found him on Instagram, and we had mutual friends, and he was playing the exact style of music that I needed, and he was at a particular skill level that I needed to be able to write this kind of stuff. I couldn't like I was searching for ages. So I've known Dave, the bassist, for many years. He was in an incredible band called Conduit. Pete, the drummer. Again, people like the Christian rock scene is very small. So you tend to find that people know, like everyone knows each other, but there are also people that live outside of that circle that are probably looking for this, and it's really hard to find them. And
Mm.
it's yeah. So to answer that, I think it's a calling because the connections that I have, like networking in inverted commas connections, I couldn't have pieced like done it myself. Um, I hate name dropping, like I genuinely do, and my friends will give me stick for it. But like knowing Tommy Green from Sleeping Giant and being able to call him friend as a kid growing up listening to Sleeping Giant, and now obviously he's in a band Holy Name, like having him as a like he's a personal friend, and to be able to say that still blows my mind because he was someone that I looked up to from afar, from another country. Never thought I'd ever get to meet him, let alone be able to move in the same circles as him. So it's God ordained. It's got to be a calling. Yeah. Do I enjoy it? Yeah, of course I do. Is it a hobby? Yeah, it is. It's fun to rock out. Come on, like being able to jump on stage and all I do is shout. I just shout and scream. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I just get to have a lot of fun with it. But the moment that it that I can feel and I can sense that God's saying it's time to put this down will be the day that we do it, and the fun in inverted commas stops, and I'm
Mm.
okay with that. um you know yeah, it's definitely a dream come true type thing for sure. And I pinch myself every time I look at our Spotify statistics and see how many people are checking us out and enjoying our music, and all the positive feedback we get. It's mind blowing, and I don't take it for granted, and it's very humbling for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. I just thought it was an interesting one to finish with because I can definitely get some of that stuff. Some of the people I know now who I can call up and say, can you help? I need some advice, or what would you do in this situation? I'm not going to drop your names, but there are a bunch of people I can call and think, how did God put these people in my life? Because 2 years ago, I never never met them before,
Yeah,
or maybe I heard of them, but now I kind of had a conversation with them and they're there to support. But the thing is, we need people. And here's the other thing.
yeah,
If it's about what you're doing, then you're going to try and crush and rubbish every other band you ever meet because you want to be the biggest. But if you're doing
yes,
it for God,
come on.
then it's kingdom based. Therefore, what you're doing, that's why you've got another Christian band wanting to champion you because they're kingdom focused, which to be honest, if you're not, get out. It's
Yeah,
that simple.
again, it's that elitist gatekeeping
Yeah.
kind of mentality that can come along with it, and seeing other people as competition. It's
Mm.
like you do know that there were like what were the four mega bands back in the day? The big four. It was like Metallica, Anthrax. I can't even remember the Megadeth, Anthrax, and there was another one anyways.
There's a
But
fourth
like
here.
there's four of them. Like there wasn't just one. Like there's room for all of us.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
do
yeah.
you know what I mean? So yeah, we've got to lift each other up and support each other. There's some. I'm going to give some shout outs if that's cool, because
Go for it.
if there's people like that like this kind of music that are listening and you haven't heard of these bands, you need to check them out. We've got friends in, as I mentioned, Confessions of a Traitor. They've got a new album coming out very soon. You have to check them out. Our friends in Barriers, great band from Northern Ireland. Hope Through Grace, We Are Revival, and I'm probably gonna miss somebody, but they're kind of like bands that are very active right now that are still writing music and gigging from the UK. And the Christian metal hardcore scene in the UK has been very small for a very long time. but I feel like God's doing some really cool things and starting to bring some more bands out. We're a bit older, we're a bit more mature now from the scene, and so there are some of the guys that are in these bands currently used to be in bands back in the day, and there's a bit of a resurgence, and it's really cool to see and to be a part of. So shout out to all those guys and our friends. I've probably missed them out, but there we go.
They'll remind you, I'm sure. Have no fear.
Yeah, I definitely. I'll get a DM later saying, "Oi."
Oh, Matt, thank you. It's been a pleasure chatting to you. It's really fascinating to hear what you're doing, how you've got to what you're doing, and most excitingly, is how much you put God in charge of what you're doing. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing, and yeah, I'm sure He'll take you where He needs you to go, and equip you as you go. Have no fear of that one.
Come on now.
Matt from Meet Your Maker, thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, mate.